Otherwise, my name is Carrie Ostergard. I am one of the first-year admissions counselors here at Elmhurst University. Just to provide a brief introduction about myself, I was a student here at Elmhurst. I actually just graduated last year in 2022. I studied psychology, and I will be pursuing my master's in business administration here as well. It was so much fun. I decided to stick around. But I worked on I'm currently working on the first year side, but I actually started working on the transfer side. So I have knowledge of both aspects. I actually was a transfer student myself. So for everyone in this meeting, whether you're a transfer student or a first year student or even international, hopefully I can help answer all of your questions and go over these next steps that you'll be going through, if you're thinking about attending Elmhurst or if you know you're attending Elmhurst this fall. So starting off, technological difficulties. For those who have not yet decided where they may be going to school, if Elmhurst is one of your top choices, if it's your second choice, third choice, whatever, if you are still thinking about where you want to go to school this fall, we are rolling admission, meaning we don't have a specific hard deadline of when you need to commit to Elmhurst University by. Honestly, the last day that you can commit to Elmhurst University would be within the week prior to classes starting. And our classes start in August, on August 28th. That is the first day of class. So really, you have until then to make that decision. However, the earlier the better, because there are some steps that need to take place in order for you to get enrolled, finalize your financial aid, those sorts of things. So the sooner the better, but you do have plenty of time to take a look at everything and make that decision. So that's sort of what this PowerPoint presentation slide says as well. We offer flexible decision days. More than anything, we want you to be confident that EU is your perfect fit. Advising dates do run through the entire summer, and we have a few virtual options as well for those of you who may be abroad. And there is still housing available. Priority deadline technically is May 1st, specifically for those, especially for those rather, that applied early action, AKA before November 1st, back in fall of 2022. But you can still apply for housing and we still have it available. Moving on to our next slide. Oof, technology can be difficult sometimes. There we go. Before you commit to EU, like I said, we want you to be confident that Elmhurst University is your place, that it is your home this coming fall. So please get any of those last questions answered about EU and be sure to explore the academic program that you are interested in, social life, this community. If you're an athletic recruit, talk with the coaching staff, talk with our senior admissions counselor for student athletes, Kevin Sleva. Look into professional development experiences that may be available to you within your major, and just make sure overall it's a good fit. Also make sure that you and your family understand the cost of Elmhurst and your financial aid package. Otherwise, decide for United States students, decide whether or not you are accepting loans, if you need additional loans or aid. Loans are available specifically to those who filed the FAFSA. So again, for students that are residents of the United States. Otherwise, we'll be going over the 12 steps to get you started at Elmhurst University. For those of you that may have deposited already, some of these steps may be a bit repetitive, but for those of you that are maybe still considering your options, these are your next steps to take if you want to commit to Elmhurst University, and then we'll go above and beyond as well to make sure that you are fully prepped for this coming fall 2023. So I have it in 12 easy steps. This is actually pulling directly from the admitted students checklist that we have available on our website. So we'll go through each step, go through every single part of it, what you have to do to complete that task, those tasks, that step. But here are the 12 steps as a whole. First step, get ready. A couple of things that you're going to want to know moving through the 12-step process of getting prepared, committing to Elmhurst University. First thing, know your E-number. Your E-number is your student ID that you'll be utilizing the next 4 to 5 to 6 years, however long you may be at Elmhurst University. And you use it throughout your time at Elmhurst. It's going to be included in your login information. It's a part of your email. So you definitely want to make sure that you know this E-number. It is available in the virtual Bluejay Roost, which is where you would have logged in to view your admission decision letter. The other thing that you can see in this virtual Bluejay Roost is your admissions counselor's information. There's me. That's the picture that I pulled directly from the virtual Bluejay Roost, which is also sometimes what we call the application status portal. But that's me. There's my picture, and also my email address and my phone number. So for each of you that may not necessarily be my student, you can see your specific admissions counselor's picture as well as their email address and their phone number. But your admissions counselor is your lifeline, as the PowerPoint presentation says. They are your go-to contact in this office. They are your biggest fan, and they're here to help you throughout this process if anything gets confusing, or if you run into any issues, or if you have any specific questions about, coming to Elmhurst in the fall. So really quickly, I just wanted to show you the virtual Bluejay Roost. I'm going to swap over to my web browser here. This is from our, it's not a real student, it's Tommy Bluejay, who is our fake student sometimes that we utilize to make sure things are working properly. But just to give you an idea of what this browser, what this page looks like, it has all the information that you need. And again, here is that specific admission counselor information. There's also an application checklist that will have any of the outstanding requirements that you may need for your application. For international student friends, that once you make your tuition deposit, that's where like F1 visa, I-20 information might be located, as well as your information just in general. So I really quickly wanted to show you guys that as well. Otherwise, hopping back to my PowerPoint presentation, the next step to start that commitment to Elmhurst to get ready for fall of 2023 is to make sure that your myElmhurst student portal technology account is set up. So after you've been admitted, you'll receive an email that your technology account is available. It's typically sent within 24 to 48 hours of receiving your official application update. And it will invite you to sign into the myElmhurst portal. Your e-number is going to be included in this email, and that's the credential, the e-number that you'll utilize for the rest of your college career here at Elmhurst University with this account, as I said before. So within the email, you just want to make sure that you click on Activate Account to create a password and enter the additional security information that's required. If you do not have access to this, if you never received this email, or if for whatever reason you're going into this email and it says that your account is locked or that your password is wrong, you need a password reset email, please contact your admission counselor specifically, or go ahead and reach out straight to the Office of Information Services directly by emailing servicedesk@elmhurst.edu. What they can do is create a ticket to get you either a password reset email or unlock your account. But this account is really, really important because it's where you need to go in order to make the tuition deposit to reserve your spot at Elmhurst University. It's where the housing information is located. It's where financial aid information is located. So we really want to make sure that you have access to this account. And then beyond, when you've enrolled in classes, it's actually where your coursework is going to be located. It's where you make payments for your tuition, all those really important things. So access is important, and let your admission counselor know, or contact the Office of Information Services if you do not have access to this account. Otherwise, the image that I have over on the right-hand side here are some of the applications that are available to admitted students. There are 9 that are available to you right now, and we'll kind of go over some of the more important ones throughout the rest of this presentation. The next step, specifically going to be for my United States students only, because it involves accepting financial aid. So if you have filed the FAFSA, which is the Federal Application for Student Aid, it's only available to US permanent residents or citizens. Provided you have filed this, your financial aid package will be viewable as soon as it's ready. So what happens after you file, if you're planning on filing the FAFSA, if you've done so already, it takes about 5 to 8 business days for our Office of Student Financial Services to receive that information. And then once they have received it, processed it, you can view your financial aid package in what we call self-service. So again, it's in the portal, and you log in, you use your e-number and your established password, and you'll click on self-service, which I pointed out with the nice blue arrow here, is sort of in the bottom middle. You can log in to self-service with the same e-number and password that you use for the myElmhurst portal. And once you are in the self-service application, you can select financial aid and scroll down to the checklist to review and accept your financial aid award package. So I've included that image here. Keep in mind, this is an image of my account specifically, so there are a couple of things that you may not see from a student account. Just keep that in mind in case there's any confusion. But the financial aid section will be located at the top right-hand corner of the menu options here. So you'll click on financial aid, and from there, A few things that you're just going to want to make sure that you have when you go in and view your financial aid package. You're going to want to make sure that you've selected 2023, 2024 for any of my transfer friends that may have applied in previous years. Make sure that you have 2023, 2024 as the academic award year so that you're viewing the proper financial aid package information. Otherwise, on this page, we also have financial aid counselor information in case you want to contact the Office of Student Financial Services with any questions about loans or grants or scholarships, or if you've qualified for a federal work study. Again, this is all information for US students. We've also included helpful resource links if you have any questions and perhaps want to do some research. So we have information about the FAFSA, Parent Plus loans. I have a little bit of information about that, I think, on the next slide. Outside scholarships, those sorts of things. Otherwise, for people who do intend on accepting loans and borrowing, a couple of steps for those specifically, you have to fill out the master promissory note, which is essentially kind of a contract that you are agreeing to borrow a certain amount, and then complete the entrance loan counseling, which is sort of like your loan 101, letting you know how the loans work, how repayment works, those sorts of things to secure your loans. So again, they're available on self-service on this checklist. You can click on these links directly, the complete direct loan entrance counseling, sign a direct loan master promissory note, and they will take you directly to the Federal Student Aid website where you can fill out and complete both of these steps to accept and fully accept those loans. Otherwise, they do get dispersed into your account mid-August to September. So when you immediately receive a bill upon enrolling in classes, you may not necessarily see the loans immediately, but they get matriculated mid-August through December. So they'll be added to your account at that point in time. If you are looking for a little extra aid in terms of loans, US students do have the option of applying for a Parent Plus loan, rather their parent or guardians do. So that is also done through the Federal Student Aid website. I've included a link in this PowerPoint presentation. Otherwise, you can Google Parent Plus loan to find the webpage with all the information. Essentially, parents can apply for a Parent Plus loan, and it technically allows you, if you qualify, to borrow up to your estimated family contribution if you have that or less remaining in terms of your tuition balance. If for any reason you get declined, it does result in an additional unsubsidized loan for your students. So there's honestly no harm in applying if that is something that you are interested in doing. They typically look at payment history as opposed to credit scores or anything like that, but that is certainly an option for those that may be looking for additional aid, specifically loans. Otherwise, after accepting and looking at all your financial aid information, if you know for sure that Elmhurst is your home, if you're happy with your financial aid, those sorts of things, you can save your spot by submitting the $100 tuition deposit. If you plan on living on campus, there also is a $150 housing deposit. They are separate. If you're planning on just commuting though, let me backtrack. The tuition deposit is required no matter what. It's $100. It technically is non-refundable. So I definitely say wait until you are 110% committed before making this deposit. Otherwise, the housing deposit is only required of students that are planning to be residential, those that are planning to live on campus. To make the tuition and or housing deposit, you will log into the myElmhurst student portal and then click on TouchNet. TouchNet is actually what we use specifically for all of our payments, those sorts of things. It's actually where you do your tuition payments when you start in the fall. But you'll log in with your e-number and password and choose deposit. You can pay with a credit card, debit card, checking account, or electronic check. But I have notated it here. I have marked it off here with the arrow. It's in the bottom left-hand corner on your myElmhurst student portal. So once you go in and click deposits, this is what the screen should look like. You'll want to make sure that you select 2023 fall for the term and then undergraduate deposit for the selected deposit section. There is a separate housing one if you plan on paying that as well, because you do need to make the housing deposit in order to fill out the housing application. But this is what you want to make sure that your screen looks like when you are saving your spot and making this $100 tuition deposit. Otherwise, let's go to the next slide. There we go. That brings me to my next slide, which is if you do plan on living on campus, how you sign up for campus housing. You do that in the My Housing application. So after you pay the housing deposit of $150, you go to the My Housing app on the portal and you fill out the new student housing application. As I mentioned before, the priority deadline technically has passed, but we still have housing available. You may not necessarily get your first top choice for that reason. There is seniority that does get taken into account, as well as that deadline that has already passed. But the My Housing portal has the applications. The applications, if you see on this left-hand side, we have a bunch of different menus and screens. Applications is where the new student housing application will be located. You also have the option of putting in personal information. So it will ask for things such as like, when do you go to bed? How do you are you generally a more organized person? Are you generally a little bit more maybe on the less organized side, just for roommate matching and those sorts of things. We also have roommate selection. If you already plan on living with someone in particular and they plan on living with you, you can go ahead and select a roommate in advance. You just have to make sure that you're both on each other's roommate selection. And you also sign up for a meal plan here in the campus housing application. There's a funny old photo of me from when I was a student at Elmhurst. So that's what I looked like quite a few years ago. Hopefully not much has changed, but that's younger Carrie back when she was a student at Elmhurst. Otherwise, our next step would be to RSVP for an advising registration date. So this is something that all students are going to want to make sure that they do as well. So after you paid your tuition deposits, you can RSVP for advising. It does generally take about 24 hours for that tuition deposit to process before you're technically allowed to fill out the RSVP form. So again, log into your myElmhurst portal. You'll choose the advising RSVP app in the upper left-hand corner. So it says advising RSVP, and it has our lovely Victor E. Bluejay going like this. And you follow the prompts to RSVP for an advising registration date. Now, this is the appointment where you will work with an advisor to look at coursework for the fall and actually enroll in classes. So you should leave the appointment that day with your fall schedule. Granted, everything goes smoothly and as it should. So once you select advising RSVP, it will bring you to this page, and you'll want to make sure that you click on the bottom button, again, RSVP for advising. And it's actually going to invite you to log back into what I mentioned before, the virtual Bluejay Roost, or what we call sometimes the application status portal. So you'll use the same email address and password or temporary PIN that was established with this account when you were invited to log in when you got your application update, your official acceptance. And if you need a password reset or if your account is locked, please contact your admissions counselor or just hit forgot your password. We have the power to send you a password reset email if for any reason you don't have these credentials memorized, or if you've forgotten them, or if you're locked out for any reason. Just let your admissions counselor know. Or if you don't have your specific admissions counselor's information, if you lost their phone number, their email address, just call our front office or email admin@elmhurst.edu. That's our general inbox that students can email with any questions. Otherwise, you'll want to make sure that you go to the advising tab. So as you can see here, when I showed the web page before, you have the My Application details, the I'm admitted, what's next, financial aid, and then there's the advising tab. So under this tab, you'll see it says RSVP for EU advising, and under this sort of couple of paragraphs of information will actually be the form that you can fill out if you haven't done so already. This is an image of a student that has already filled out the form, which is why it says your advising date has been set. So what happens when you fill out the form is you put in your first name, your last name, you confirm your major of interest, and then you put in 3 dates in order of preference of when you want your advising registration appointment to be. As mentioned before, we have several still available for the remainder of the spring and summer. There's a couple in June, a couple in July, and a couple in August even. The sooner the better, because some classes do fill up. The majority though of the lower level classes may not necessarily fill up, but the sooner the better, the early bird gets the worm. But once you have submitted that form, it gets sent over to the Office of Advising, and they will then confirm with you an advising date. And that advising date, once it's been confirmed, will also be located on this portal under the advising date section. Keep in mind, students, that it is meant to just be, this appointment is just meant to include you and the advisor, so no parents or guardians are allowed. Just something to keep in mind, whether it's virtual or in person, because we do offer a few virtual days as well. The next step would be to complete any proficiency or placement testing prior to an appointment if you have one established and if you've registered for one and have gotten the confirmation for that appointment. So we have 3 placement tests available to students. A couple are optional and one is required. Mathematics is required of all first-year students specifically to take. And it essentially allows us to gauge your proficiency in mathematics, and you may even test out of our entry-level college algebra or one of our other entry-level mathematics courses, or the overall general proficiency requirement. World language is optional. In fact, first-year students and transfer students, if you took 2 years, at least 2 years of a foreign or world language in high school, that satisfies our world language proficiency required to graduate. So you do not have to take the world language placement test if you do not want to. However, if you're planning on majoring or minoring in a language, a world language, you may want to consider taking that test so that you can place into the upper levels of whatever language that you may be studying, whether it be Spanish, French, German, etc. You can place into the 200 level or even 300 level if you do well on the placement world language exam. Otherwise, the writing exam is also optional, highly recommended, but totally optional. You may be able to place into our English 106 class, which is English Composition 1 and 2. So English 105 and 106 are both required courses for students to graduate. So if you want to take the exam, you may satisfy English 105, which is English Composition 1, and just start with English Composition 2. So it's to your benefit. The other thing about these placement tests is that they are all online in Blackboard. Through the portal, it is called placement tests, but the BB stands for Blackboard. So when you go into Blackboard, you can check the organizations tab for a list of required tests and click on the name of an exam for instructions and then to complete it. Each test does take about 1 to 2 hours. Otherwise, the placement tests do become available for students the day you receive your appointment confirmation for your advising registration appointment. So don't try to take these placement exams prior to getting that confirmation from the Office of Advising. Do keep in mind, though, that your test must be completed 7 days prior to the appointment, so that your advisor has all the necessary information to help you register for courses. Like I said, you may possibly place into upper level courses. You may possibly place out of taking some of the required courses to graduate. So your advisor needs to know that information while they're helping you make your schedule for the fall. You will get a reminder 2 weeks prior to your appointment, so don't worry about that, but definitely mark your calendar for when your appointment will be, and then mark the week before to make sure that you have your placement test done by then. Moving on to our next step, which is, you may not necessarily be able to do this yet if you have not finished your school year, but it would be to send final transcripts and test scores. First year students, please send your official final high school transcript showing your graduation date, as it is required for federal regulations. So whatever your last day of school may be, whenever your graduation ceremony may be, just make sure you talk with your office, your guidance office or records and registration to get an official final high school transcript sent to Elmhurst University. Transfer students, same thing, except you're going to want to make sure that you submit an official final college transcript if you completed coursework after your admission to Elmhurst University. So if you were admitted back in the fall, you're going to want to make sure, and you're taking classes this spring, you're going to want to make sure that you send us your updated official transcript so that we can add that information to your transfer credit evaluation. International students coming from outside the United States, you're also going to want to make sure that you submit official final high school and or college transcripts and test scores in person after you arrive here at the US. More information to come later for that, in terms of like the requirements and how to submit that information, as well as international student orientation taking place in August. So just know more information will be sent out about that to my international student friends who are joining us today. If you uploaded copies of your SAT or ACT test scores for application purposes, we do eventually need the official test scores from College Board or ACT. You can request both of those through either College Board or the ACT websites, but we will need the official score reports by the time you start classes in the fall. Also be sure to submit any official AP, IB, or CLEP score reports for alternate credit. We accept a number of AP credit if you received a 3 or higher on the exams for credit here at Elmhurst University. In fact, I wanted to show you guys that as well. So I'm going to really quickly hop over to this web page. But here's the advanced placement section. So if you click on this drop down and click on AP credits, we have a big long list of everything that we accept here for credit. Again, you just have to make sure that you get a 3 or higher on the exam. But if, for example, you took English Lang and you got a 3 or higher, that also satisfies the writing proficiency, English 105, as I was sort of talking about before. Or if you took United States History, that covers History 102, which actually satisfies one of our general education requirements, or what we call areas of knowledge. That's a part of our general education curriculum. So definitely be sure to go to College Board's website and send those AP exam scores if you have 3s or higher, and you can get college credit for them. Otherwise, as mentioned, we also accept IB credits, CLEP credits. If you have any dual enrollment credit from like a local community college, be sure to send your official college transcripts, because we do need to see official transcripts from the college that you're enrolled in for that dual enrollment credit. But yes, just make sure to double check that information. Otherwise, let me hop back on over to my PowerPoint presentation. Oops. Sweet. And then if you're sending any of these transcripts electronically to my first year students and transfer students, they can be sent to transcripts4eu@elmhurst.edu. Of course, you can also mail transcripts, but that does take a bit more time. So if you're planning on sending them electronically or emailing, just make sure they are sent to transcripts4eu@elmhurst.edu. Otherwise, back to finances. So if you already completed some of the previous steps that we were discussing, accepting your financial aid package, making the $100 tuition deposit, the housing deposit, we offer optional payment plans to help you pay your tuition balance each year. There are 2 payment plans each year offered, one in the fall, one in the spring. They are 5 months each. Fall would start August 15th and run through December 15th, and then spring would be January 15th through May 15th. So a few days after you register for courses, so after that advising registration appointment, you receive the bill for your term. The first payment is not due until August 15th. So you really have until then to sign up for an optional payment plan or pay the balance if you are not planning on signing up for a payment plan. But to sign up for a payment plan, that's also done on TouchNet, where the tuition deposit was made. You can click on TouchNet and then go to payment plans and enroll in a proper payment plan for the fall 2023 term and then the spring 2024 term. Again, during fall term bills are due August 15th. Spring term bills would be due January 15th. If you sign up for a payment plan, it'd be every month on the 15th. If you have any specific questions about this, please feel free to reach out to Student Financial Services. That is their phone number and that is their email address. But they are more than happy to help answer any questions that you may have about financial aid or the payment plans or loans or the FAFSA for those of you that are US citizens or residents and filed the FAFSA, or even anyone that may have filed the alternative application or RISE application. So please send any financial aid questions their way. Otherwise, you can also always reach out to your admissions counselor. We are well trained in the world of student finances and financial aid. So please just let us know if you have any questions. If we can't answer it, we'll send you on over to them. Otherwise, next step would be to submit the required immunizations and health history that we request from students. So all new students are required to submit a health history and proof of immunizations for certain diseases. Our immunization form and health history form can be submitted either electronically via email or also faxing it, or you can come submit it in person at our wellness center. I can show you that webpage on our website. See here. So the health and immunization form is linked right here on this button. A physical exam is not required, but here are the required immunizations and the recommended immunizations, as well as some frequently asked questions. So you can see all this information here, as well as, again, back in that virtual Bluejay roost. But the health immunization form looks like this once it loads. And as I mentioned before, records and this form can be sent using these instructions and either emailed, faxed, or dropped off in person. So totally up to you. Otherwise, one thing worth noting is that Elmhurst University does no longer require the COVID-19 vaccination as of fall 2023. So we're not requiring you to submit any sort of vaccination cards, anything like that. For those of you, however, that are planning on pursuing a major within the health field, so my nursing friends, people that are in pre-professional health related majors, any of you that may be in a hospital setting that might be related to any of your academic programs, hospitals are still requiring COVID vaccinations. So nursing friends specifically, for clinicals, they are going to require that you have the COVID-19 vaccination. I believe that they are requiring the first and the second dose. I'm not sure about any of the boosters. You will probably want to ask the nursing department about that, whether or not they are requiring the boosters. But as of right now, today, May 16th, 2023, hospitals are still requiring COVID vaccinations. So just keep that in mind if for any reason you are going to be attending a clinical, lab, the sim lab, simulation lab for nursing students, like if you're going to be involved in any of those things, that hospitals still require the COVID-19 vaccination. Otherwise, with immunizations in general, there are some medical and religious exemptions that we will of course accept. All that information and more is located on that webpage that I just showed. That leads us though to our next step, which I would definitely write this information down. After you enroll in classes, you will receive an Elmhurst email address that your professors and other fellow students will use to communicate with you. So once you get that email, access to that email, once it is activated after you enroll in classes at your advice and registration appointment, write it down and definitely keep an eye on it. One of the biggest issues that we run into with current students is that they are not checking their emails. So I'm going to tell you now, from former student to future current students, check your emails. There's lots of important information that gets sent, whether it's related to your classes, it's related to finances, it's related to just the campus in general, living on campus, student organizations. Check your email. Just always keep an eye on the inbox, keep an eye on your spam folder, just check your email. I cannot say it enough. Keep all your passwords in a safe place too, to make sure that you always have access to your email as well. Check in with your admissions counselor to make sure that you have submitted everything necessary and that we've received everything necessary. You've been talking with your counselor all along, right? Well, if you haven't, definitely start talking with them now. Like I said, we are here to help. We are your biggest fans. We want to make this as seamless and easy as possible. So just please, please, please reach out to us and let us know if you have any questions. Virtual Bluejay Roost has their phone number, has their email addresses, and all of those texts that you get from us, like whether it's about an event we're doing or a scholarship or, just checking in. If you're getting a text from Elmhurst University, you can text that number back and it gets sent straight to your admissions counselor. Just let us know if you have any questions. And as I said before, write down, remember your e-number. You will be needing this your entire rest of your Elmhurst University career. You're going to get very familiar with it. So just write it down now, start memorizing it now, let it become your best friend. You'll be seeing this number a lot over the next 4-ish years. Last step, join us for new student orientation. So first-year students and international students, it is required that you go to our new student orientation. The dates sort of vary depending on what type of students you are. And then for transfer students, it's not required, but strongly encouraged, as it's a great way to meet people, get acclimated to our campus. But as it says, orientation will introduce you to resources on campus, familiarize you with common acronyms and terms, so nicknames for the buildings, those sorts of things, help you find all those small meeting spaces on campus, such as the Melanchthon room. That's how you say that word, Melanchthon. I could not pronounce it correctly pretty much the entire time I was a student, and I only learned how it's pronounced as an employee. But we promise you'll also make friends and have lots of stories to share. Students will tell you orientation, those are some of the most fun days on campus. You have orientation student leaders that will serve as, group leaders. You'll have a small group that you work with, get close with. We have the snow cone truck comes. We have inflatable things sometimes, games, giveaways. So it's just a really overall fun time. The staff and employees love it too. And the faculty loves it. It's a really fun time. And that's actually a picture from last year's orientation. I'm in that big group of people somewhere, but we were dancing, we were having fun. So highly, highly, highly recommend coming if you're not required to come. If you are required to come, definitely look forward to seeing you all there. This is the new student orientation schedule for first year students. Let me go back to my last slide. We do have information and these schedules online on our website. So if you just go to elmhurst.edu and then search orientation, you should be able to find a PDF or image of this orientation. But this is the first year schedule. So if you're planning on being a residential student, move-in is going to be Wednesday, August 23rd. Otherwise, the official orientation for all of our students, commuters and residential students, is going to start August 24th on Thursday. And then it will go through Saturday, August 26th, and then you'll sort of get a day of rest on Sunday, August 27th. And then classes begin on the 28th. But we have lots of fun events, as you can see. And then I also have the schedule for our first year family and guests. So they are invited to come on Wednesday, August 24th as well. Although actually that should be Wednesday. I believe that should be Thursday, August 24th. Sorry for the typo. But you can help your residents move in. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Wednesday, August 23rd, and then Thursday, August 24th. So residential students, your families can, of course, help you move in. We have dinner in the cafeteria. That's optional. And then on Thursday, August 24th, we have commuter student check-in, welcome lunch for family and friends, and just some information sessions. And then this is the schedule for our transfer students. So transfer students just have orientation on Saturday and Sunday. Again, this is optional, but certainly a really fun time, a really great way to meet people, get acclimated to our campus, and there is opportunities for your family and friends to get involved in your orientation as well. Otherwise, for international students, we are still finalizing your orientation. It's either going to take place on the 22nd or the 23rd. And we're going to have just information sessions, about various different things, our campus, how to find things. You'll get to meet other international students and make sure that you are adjusting to being here at Elmhurst University, those sorts of things. But that will take place on either August 22nd or August 23rd. So be on the lookout in your emails for additional information about that. And international students, also be on the lookout. Check your virtual Bluejay Roost, your admission checklist to make sure that you are sending all the necessary information we need to finalize your admission here at Elmhurst University. I briefly mentioned before that I-20 information is available there once you have made your tuition deposit. But please, please, please check your emails, check out the virtual Bluejay Roost. And if you have any specific questions about being an international student, you can definitely reach out to Carol Johnson if you haven't done so already. She is the Director of International Admission here in the Elmhurst University Office of Admissions. And that's about all that I have in terms of my presentation. I'm going to go ahead and end my slideshow and stop talking and look at some of the questions that were asked. Let me see. So in the chat, Carolyn asked, when do you get ID cards? I want to say that you get your ID cards during orientation. I can't remember specifically because I was a transfer student, so I just went to the Office of Public Safety during my advising registration appointment and got that done. But it's either during your advising registration appointment or it will be during first year transfer student orientation. But that is through the Office of Public Safety. They are also our campus security, and that will be we call that your J-Pass. So that will have your picture. As you saw in the housing application, that was my student ID picture. It will have your E-number. It's what you use for your meal plan if you are living on campus and planning on registering for a meal plan. But that will either be during your advising registration appointment or during orientation, or you can schedule that through the Office of Public Safety. So just check in with your admissions counselor if you have any specific questions about that, just to get a final confirmed answer. Guys, let me check out the Q&A section. All right, so we had someone ask, how many courses credits can we take in one semester? How many books do you think we will need to buy in one semester? And also, which is the best way to buy books? Those are all great questions. So with our the cost of tuition and fees, that allows you to take 3 to 4.75 credits per semester, or if you think about it in semester hours, that's 12 to 19 semester hours. For those of you who may not be familiar with that verbiage, that essentially means 3 to 4 to 5 classes. One class is typically 1 credit, which is why I say like 3 to 4, sometimes 5, because for example, an ensemble you can sometimes take that for credit, but it's only worth like 0.25 credits. So like a fourth of a traditional 1 credit class. So sometimes students will be simply taking 3 classes for 3 credits, or they may be taking like 4.25 if they're taking 4 classes, all valued at 1 credit, and then like an ensemble. So it's 3 to 4.75 credits or 12 to 19 semester hours. That's what you can take in 1 semester. Otherwise, how many books do you think you're going to buy in 1 semester? Honestly, that is completely dependent on the classes that you're taking. Classes will require anywhere from 1 book to 3 to 4 books. If it's like, for example, if it's like general chemistry, I took that class a few years ago. We only were required to purchase 1 textbook for that class. Whereas when I took English Composition 2, we bought, I think, 3 because there were novels that we had to read. So that was sort of the difference between those 2 classes. So it really does depend on what class it is that you're taking. And textbooks and books in general will cost you anywhere from $75 a semester to $200 a semester, unfortunately. They can be quite expensive. There are a few different things too that affect the cost of books. Sometimes professor preference. So if you have a professor that is requesting you to purchase a physical copy of a book versus an electronic copy of a book, or personal preference. So if you'd rather purchase used versus new, or rent versus buy, or do electronic versus physical. So there are a few different factors that go into the cost of books, as well as the number of books that you may need to purchase, but it's anywhere from 1 to 4 books a class, and then they were anywhere from $75 to $200 a semester. To purchase books, though, you can do this through our bookstore. We no longer have a physical bookstore on campus. We have our Bluejay Spirit Shop located in the Frick Center. I worked there, so I always like to mention them because they are near and dear to my heart, and there is a ton of fun stuff to get there, from apparel to keychains, to magnets, to stickers. You can find it all in there. But it's also where you can order books online, and they will get sent to you directly or sent to our campus if you're planning on being a residential student. So let me really quickly look up their website so I can show you what it looks like and also how you can find those textbooks. I'm going to share my screen again. All right, so this is our Spirit Shop's website. So you can see all of the things that they have available for purchase by clicking on shop. Otherwise, you'll notice that there is a textbooks link here. Let me make sure, am I sharing my right screen? Let's make sure. So sorry, want to make sure that I'm sharing the proper screen. So I clicked on textbooks, and then you'll notice here that it says select my courses. So you do have to have your class schedule before you search for textbooks on the Spirit Shop's website, but you'll select spring, summer, fall 2023. Because it's still May, you may not necessarily be able to see the textbooks yet because the professors may not have put the information in yet. But this is how you would find. So for example, if you're taking English 105, you'll put in English as the department. Let me make sure. So ENG. Most college courses are going to have like a 3-letter course code and then a 3-digit number. That's usually how we organize everything. Other schools are different. Some community colleges are different, but English here is ENG. And then 105 is the English Composition 1 course number. And then depending on the professor you have, that's the section that you'd be in. So again, you can see all this information once you have your fall schedule, but you just input all this information. So if you're in English 105, section 2, you can find materials for that one course. So it should have the professor. And then once the information is put in, like the textbook requirements, you'll be able to see it here. And then you can either order directly from this website and have it shipped, like I said, to your home permanent address or to the school itself. Or you can take the IBSN codes, like the book course, like the book codes, and you can look them up in Amazon or like a third-party website and order them through there. So that's how you can find textbook information. Hopefully that answered your question. Otherwise, let me go ahead. Do transfer students have to take any placement tests or only first year? For transfer students, it does sometimes depend on the major that you're planning on pursuing. That's something I would check in with your admissions counselor about. So for example, if you're taking business and have not taken any kind of mathematics course, you will want to take the mathematics placement test. But if you've already taken a mathematics class like college algebra or calculus or anything like that, you technically have already fulfilled our mathematics proficiency to graduate. So you may not necessarily have to take the mathematics proficiency test. So I would definitely check in with your admissions counselor just to make sure that you have taken all the things necessary. And then, like I said before, if you've taken a world language in high school, or if you've taken a world language class or two in college, that should satisfy that requirement. Same thing with English. If you've taken like English 101, that would satisfy that requirement as well. So just check in with your admissions counselor. If I send my AP score to my community college and it is on my transcript, do I have to send it to Elmhurst too? Yes, you do. Because even if it's on your community college transcript, we do not have official record of that exam score. So we will have to see it as well in order to add it to your transfer credit evaluation, unfortunately. So just however you sent it to your community college originally, that's how you go in and send it to us as well. And then we can add it to your official transfer credit evaluation and get you credit for it. Are student jobs only federal work study? No, not all student jobs are going to require a federal work study. In fact, there are several student jobs that it may be like preferred, but not required. There are some specific jobs that are going to be federal work study only, but you can actually see our student positions on the myElmhurst student portal, and I can show you that as well. Let me just pull up that information real quick. If you have a federal work study, something worth keeping in mind is that you do still have to apply for jobs, even if you've accepted the federal work study. You have to apply for a job to get the job. But all of our student workers can work between anywhere from 5 hours a week to a max of 20 hours a week. We have a bunch of different kinds of positions available. Anything from working as a student ambassador in the Office of Admissions to working at our information desk in the Frick Center, to working for a specific department, working in our fitness center. There's really a bunch of different opportunities. And you can see all of these in the myElmhurst student portal. Let me start sharing my screen again by logging in, of course, and then going to the student life section. And then there is a student employment section down here. So you can view jobs. And we just have general information here on the left-hand side, and then all of our student jobs that are currently available on the right-hand side. The application, you can download it and use it for any of the specific positions. But as I was saying, here's a job in the Office of Admission. Here's a job in the Office of Student Involvement right here. You can check whether or not a federal work study is required by going down to that section in the job description. So for example, this Office of Admission job, operations assistant, was posted on April 24th. It's still open. A federal work study is preferred, but not required. Whereas the working as an open gym student employee for the Office of Student Involvement, that is required. But you can inquire further about any of these positions by emailing the contact name. Each of these job descriptions has an information as well. It has the name, it has the email address. I would wait about a month or so before officially applying to any jobs. I mean, you'll just want to make sure that these are still jobs available for the 2023-2024 school year. So if anything, reach out to the contact, say that you are an incoming 2023 fall student, and ask if this job is still available this next coming academic school year, because a lot of these are from spring semester, and spring semester here is ending as of this week. Graduation is this weekend. Yeah, just double check, but that is some info about student jobs. Anyone can get a student job. As I said, I worked in the spirit shop, and I loved working on campus and getting a little bit of extra money that I could use towards my attendance. So it was fantastic. And most of the jobs are very flexible. They cater specifically to student workers because, of course, your education comes first. So they are quite flexible as well. I submitted my housing application a few weeks ago. When will I be assigned to my dorm? That is a great question. Unfortunately, I do not know the answer. You can certainly reach out to the Office of Housing and Residential Life. I want to say that you'll find out at the beginning of June 1st. I don't know for sure. What I would do is you could contact the Office of Residential Life or go ahead and reach out to your specific admissions counselor, and they can reach out to the Office of Housing and Residential Life to get you a more specific answer. But I want to say it does take the office about 3 to 4 weeks to process everything. Because like as it's been mentioned before, May 1st was the deadline, so it's only been a couple of weeks since the deadline passed. So yeah, just keep an eye out for in your email as well as in that housing application, the My Housing on the Elmhurst student portal, just to see if there are any housing updates. And if you have any specific questions, you can definitely feel free to reach out to the Office of Housing and Residential Life. Otherwise, when does the first semester end? Also, when does the J term start? So the J term's gonna start, let's look at the academic calendar. Generally speaking, the J term starts the first full week of January, and then it ends 4 weeks later in the last week of January, and then our spring semester starts the first full week of February. So for those of you that may not be familiar with our January term is an interim that takes place in the month of January. It takes place between fall semester and winter break and spring semester. So it's 4 weeks. Students have the option of taking a class during that time. It would be an accelerated intensive course where you'd be meeting probably for 2 to 4 hours almost every day of the week, because you're doing a 15-16 week long course in the span of 4 weeks. Some students will study abroad during that time. We have several faculty-led excursions available if you don't want to study abroad for a full semester. Some students will pursue their own personal research projects, internships, if there's a 4-week internship available. Some students will also just simply use this as, like, they won't enroll in a class and they'll use it as an extended break. If you take a class during this time, though, that is included with the cost of tuition. So in addition to the 3.475 credits you can take each semester, you have the opportunity to take another class during this time as well. And we have a number of different courses available on each January term. Anything from introductory courses to major specific courses. So it's a great way to get either a general education requirement done or a major requirement. For example, when I was a student, I fulfilled my religious studies and context area of knowledge. That's one of our gen ed requirements. And then the following year, I also fulfilled a major requirement by taking a psychology class. So it's a great time. And the course options are also flexible in the sense that a lot of them are offered virtually, so you can do it from the comfort of your own home if you go back home during that time, or students can live on campus during that time if your class is virtual or in person. So there's a bit of flexibility, and it's fantastic. Otherwise, the first semester, let's check the academic calendar to see specifically when all of this ends, so that you can write down the dates. The academic calendar is available on our website if you want to go ahead and put that information into your own personal calendars. If you go to elmhurst.edu and search academic calendar 2023-2024, let it load. 2023-2024 academic calendar. So share my screen again so you guys can see. But we have our fall term information. So for example, Thursday, August 24th, new student convocation. That's a part of the orientation process. So you'll be there. Monday, August 28th, first day of class. It has information about recesses, Thanksgiving break. The last day of class for fall term will be December 8th. And then finals will be Saturday, December 9th through Thursday, December 14th. So technically the semester ends on Thursday, December 14th. You should get your final grades by Wednesday, December 20th. January term will officially begin Tuesday, January 2nd. Moving down here. And the last day of our January term will be Friday, January 26th. And then our spring term will begin Monday, January 29th. Cool. All right. Is there a way to see which housing is available before applying? I am not sure as a first year student if you can see that. That is a good question. Again, I'm not quite 110% sure of the answer. I want to say that you should be able to put preference that you as a current student can put preferences in, but if you're a first year student, you're generally going to get placed in either Niebuhr Hall or Schick Hall. Those are the two sort of quote unquote first year dorms. Niebuhr Hall actually specifically houses all entirely first year students. And then Schick Hall is available to all grade levels, but it does house primarily first year students as well. Otherwise, we have 6 traditional dorms, so residence halls, and then we have 2 apartment buildings and several campus owned houses as well. But you can reach out specifically to your admissions counselor to the Office of Housing and Residential Life if you want to know more about the application. Unfortunately, I don't have the materials on me right now to sort of look more into that. But you can reach out and get that information for sure. Sorry that I don't know the answer 110%. Right, I think there is one more question in the chat, perhaps. Let me check there real quick. Oops, accidentally exited out the chat. How do we access Microsoft 365? You should be able to do that after you are enrolled and become a current student. So the thing about the myElmhurst portal is that as of right now, most of you are going to currently be in the admitted student stage, meaning you haven't moved yet to the current student stage because you're not enrolled in classes yet. So it should still, when you log into the admitted students section, and then you'll notice though that there's admitted students, current students, and employees. So as of right now, admitted students do not have access to the Microsoft 365 suite, meaning the email, the ability to download the different like Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, those sorts of things. Your portal just looks like this right now. However, upon becoming an enrolled student, you should be able to access and download those things because you have access to it as a student here at Elmhurst University. So going back to the login, this is what your portal is eventually going to look like when you become a current student. So it'll kind of switch over once you've enrolled in classes. But you'll notice you have access to a lot more different applications, such as like Blackboard officially becomes Blackboard. That's where the majority of your coursework is going to be located, as well as your like course modules. We have access to like LinkedIn Learning, Tutoring, Navigate, which is used for your course schedule, Papercut, which is used for printing. And then you'll also notice that we have Office 365. So if you click on this, it should take you to the download Microsoft 365 suite, where you can download all of these different applications onto your personal laptop or computer and access them for your classes. But that would be specifically where you get to how to download that, and it will only be available to you once you've reached the current student stage. Same thing with the email. That becomes available specifically to log into after your advising registration appointment when you're enrolled in classes. Oh, yes. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me today. Were there any other questions that I could help answer? Feel free to throw them in the chat, throw them in the Q&A function. Feel free to raise your hand if you'd like to unmute and ask a question. Before I end this meeting, this webinar with you all. Like I did mention before that I'm going to try to get a recording of this out there, whether I send it through email or post it on the website. And I'm also going to try to get a PDF version of this presentation available so that you can see it beyond after this meeting. But were there any other questions I could help answer while I still have you all here? Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Does that mean that you guys are good to go? Sweet. All right, well, thank you guys so much for joining. Feel free to go ahead and head out. Have a fantastic rest of your evenings. And we look forward to having you all on campus soon. Bye, everyone.